All right, Mom and Dad. I have discovered another hidden negative to my experiences on that job, that 3-year job. Um, any rate, I'm not working. Haven't made any money in 12, 14 days. But I made some props for Francis and getting stuff done around the yard. And at any rate, one of the seniors at VCU has a dance that's coming up, and she needed some props, and she couldn't find a carpenter. She was willing to pay. I said, don't worry about paying. I'm happy to help. And so one of the props she needed is this little pyramid. And I was like, oh yeah, that's no problem. I'll knock that out in a flash. And so I came out yesterday and was going to make a model out of like this cardboard. And I got to messing with it. And I was like, recalling my carpentry lessons of past. Thought I was going to skip some steps, do it mathematically because I'm such a genius. And I kept screwing up. Finally got frustrated, threw my model in the trash, burned it. Went out, I guess that's the day before yesterday, went out yesterday, bought the real product, the real material. $250 worth of stuff. And did the same thing. In my head, mathematically, cutting the pieces like I used to do all the time. But the negative of that particular job that I just realized, sometimes if you don't use it, you lose it. And since I'd been there for 3 years and been on the adjacent job beside it for a year, and there's modern straight line boxes, I haven't had occasion to do a hip or a valley or anything with any thought process for 4, maybe 5 years. Because before that, I was doing kitchen installs. So I came out here and thought I was just going to jump on this thing and it was all going to come back to me and I was going to use the frame and square and math. I screwed it up, I know, 3 times. Finally, I went back to basics and did it the old school way. Laid out my base, put my common rafters up, and then got my hip rafters in. And as I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, dumbass. That's why you screwed up. It all started coming back to me. But I just found that funny. I'd lost the knowledge. It was still in my head, but I had to revisit it to get it. But something else kind of got under my skin. I like to sit in the treehouse on occasion and scroll through YouTubes and carpentry stuff, just trying to keep myself up to date with what's going on. And there was a guy who had there's all these guys. A guy called the Framing Beast and the Frame Masters, another guy with a framing school. And I watch them, I'm like, what are these bozos doing? They got 6 million views. But the other evening I was watching one, and it was about framing California corners. This is a California corner. I've been aware of California corners. I've never used them and never been asked to use them, and I don't like them. But the guy was talking about the pluses of it, and the people that do this, people like me, are outdated, old school, and kind of offended me a little bit because this is how I've been framing my corners on my walls since Benji. 9, 11, all the way up into Earl Willard and Bill Jenkins, and that's how it was done. You got a wall that butts into another wall. You got 3 studs on the corner, one for the positive tie and the drywall and all the components that go on it. If you put your sheathing, which was the other thing that I always do, is I leave this corner sheathing off so you can tie that corner together with a positive tie. That plywood comes from this wall, laps over onto this corner, you shoot it off, and that's a positive tie. Not, you see some guys will stand it up, sheet it, stand it up, and then they'll put a little rip in here. And the only thing holding it together is the top plate and whatever nails they may happen to put in here. So I always left the plywood off the corners. Bill taught me that, and that's how I do it. So you put your sheathing on, and then say you have a corner board. I don't care if it's 5/4 fir or vinyl, whatever it may be. And then you have a piece of siding. It comes in and butts your corner board. Now you can see, because of the way we frame our corners, the corner board has something to nail to. The sheathing ties the wall in, and the siding has something to nail to. So I think that's a pretty efficient system, structural, with the added benefit, I'm guessing 30 to 50% of the time, these corners have high capacity loads on them, and the engineers and the building code requires them to be stacked full. But, so I got a little offended because the new and improved modern method that makes me outdated and old school is the California corner. And the benefits to the California corner, it's less material, supposedly. And the theory is it's more energy efficient because they can get insulation bats behind this nailer. Okay, great, I get it. I don't know what 2 inches of fiberglass insulation's R value is. I don't know if it's greater than solid wood. I'm assuming it is because everybody's on the bandwagon. But the issue I have with this is, let's say you make a California corner and you sheet your wall. Like so. Then, let's say you put a corner board on the exterior. Like so. All right, and then you have a piece of siding. It butts, oh shit. Butts your corner board. My question is, what is this corner board nailing to? And what is this siding nailing to? It's nailed to plywood, air, and insulation. So this may or may not seem that important to whoever is installing it or sees this video, but as I have found out, as I've always known, installation instructions are important and building code is important, and sometimes they don't match with each other. But because recently I have had the displeasure of collecting evidence for multi-million-dollar lawsuits and reading installation instructions and the requirements. Almost everything you put on a house requires a fastener of some type and size and length. And it's almost always required to take a purchase into the stud. So my point is, if this particular piece of siding calls in for an 8-inch ring shank or spiral, not 8-inch, 8-penny ring shank or spiral, and you drive that nail into here, the only thing it's purchasing is plywood, air and insulation. Same thing with the corner board. You take that and shoot it in there, you're not hitting anything, which inherently may not be an issue. But when it becomes an issue, like we found out on this house for the past 3 years, when you just take things upon yourself and do what you want and don't pay attention, any manufacturer is going to negate any responsibility because you didn't use the right nail in the right place in the right purchase. So I guess while everyone in California is patting themselves on the back and calling me an old school redneck, that's something to think about in court. California is known to have some natural disasters. And I would tend to think I would want my corners pretty damn sound, not just for the purpose of particular R value of insulation. So I guess that's my rant for the day. Never liked them. Never going to use them. But I also wanted to show you. Your bush axe finally bit the dust. But I didn't have the heart to just trash it because I know you cleared all that bank at Bavon. So I had this piece of Osage. Made a new handle for it. Gave it a little flair, style. Kind of turned into a piece of art, really, all these little pins and knots. But as you know, this Osage, it's not going to rot. And it's stronger than hickory. I went ahead and put some linseed oil on it, and I'm going to linseed oil all the tools that you gave me, because I don't want to keep making handles and I don't want handles to keep breaking. But that shit was $44, believe it or not. But at any rate, my memory has come back on how to do hips and valleys, and I can pretty much do it all in my head with the frame and square again, but good Lord. I felt like the biggest idiot when I came out here and just kept messing up and messing up. In California corners, you can have them. You want air, insulation, and plywood to hold your house up. That's your prerogative. I want some structure. All right, see ya.